as a creator, it's super lonely. You just chat to your camera all the time. You have a team, but they're remote. So it's not like you don't have co-founders. But then, having investors, just this completely different dynamic. You're like, oh, I have people who are actually interested in me succeeding. So it's a lot about mindset, I think, with this deal.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chikodi Chima. Thank you again for joining us on another edition of the Creator Business Show. Today, we're speaking with Marina Mogilco, and she is the first creator ever to receive a direct investment. Sam Lessin from Slow Ventures, Sriram Krishnan, who's also at Andreessen Horowitz, they gave her an upfront payment of $1.5 million in exchange for 5% of her revenue over the next 30 years as a creator. So we're going to talk about what that revenue actually looks like, what is in the deal, what isn't in the deal, her journey to having 3 YouTube channels with over 7 million subscribers across 3 channels, and how she's looking at business in 2022 and beyond. So this is a really wonderful conversation, and I'm so glad that Marina was able to participate. I'm glad that you're here to participate as well. So let's dive into today's edition of the Creator Business Show. Привет! Меня зовут Chikodi Chima. Сегодня мой гость Marina Mogilco, Lingua Maria.
Всем привет! Спасибо за приглашение.
For the Russian speakers, I just said, hello, my name is Chikodi Chima, and Marina taught me how to say my guest's name is Marina, and Marina Mogilco. We go way back. We've known each other 5 or 6 years at this point.
Yeah.
And Marina is a very talented creator. Not only that, but she's also the first creator to be given a direct creator investment from Sam Lessin and Slow Ventures. So we're going to talk about that.
Yep.
We're going to talk about how you got to this point. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting. Super excited. Yeah. And we've known each other since 2015. So it's 7 years this year. Wow.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. So diving right in, when we met, you and your husband were and business partner were working on LinguaTrip. I imagine you're still working on LinguaTrip. What was LinguaTrip then? What is it now? And how has that contributed to where you are today?
Yeah, so LinguaTrip has evolved. So COVID hit a couple of years ago, and we had to kind of pivot from being just purely like this booking platform for travel experiences. We started producing our own courses with different YouTube bloggers and teachers that we partnered with. So now these courses are main source of revenue, but we're still hoping that countries started opening up, and there are some countries that you can visit right now to learn a language. So we're still positive about the educational travel part of the business, but in the meantime, we're working on our own educational platform for language learners. We want to make it adaptive. We want to make content that's easy to consume. So basically what I'm doing on YouTube, we just want to give it more structure. We're working on methodology. And it's still, I think, maybe like 50 people team. I am less involved in the product these days because my husband has taken over. He's the CEO and he's running the operations. But I am involved in the product and some marketing.
Okay. And so for those who are unaffiliated, LinguaTrip was a platform to help language learners learn a language by traveling to the country where the language is spoken, right?
Yep, exactly.
All right. And still a 50-person team. That's quite remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we're able to retain most of the team.
Yeah. And so you came to the States. Was that your first time living in the US, or had you lived here before
2015? I
2015,
visited.
Yeah.
No, I visited before, and it has always been my dream to at least live here for a while. And I started my university applications at the same time. So I was like, what would be the best way to move? And then we got accepted to 500. So the problem was solved. And yes, so we came in 2015 on a tourist visa. Then we got our O1 visas and came back in 2016. And then I applied for a green card. So now we're here.
Wow. Okay. And so you have 3 YouTube channels. Lingua Marina itself has almost 6 million subscribers.
Yeah, 5.1, something like that. Yeah, it's growing like crazy. It's growing at 300,000 new followers every month right now, which is like, I've never seen that growth before. I know it's only temporary. Like, you're so dependent on the algorithm, and for some reason it likes me it has been liking me for the past few months, especially. Yeah, it's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of flabbergasting. I don't even know what to say. 300,000 new subscribers a month, and that's all organic?
Yeah, we don't do any, like, YouTube is this platform where you don't need to advertise because the algorithm works so well that if you're producing interesting content, it picks up at a certain pace. And yeah, for the past few months, the pace has been crazy.
And I see you've been producing YouTube shorts as well.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
the algorithm loves that.
Those have been driving a lot of growth. So we went from, I think last year in January, we had like 5 million views a month. This time we have 47 million views a month. And most of the views come from shorts.
Wow. Okay. And so what does that actually translate into in terms of revenue? And that's just on the one.
Translates to nothing. So the revenue has been pretty stable. So I get that there is this YouTube Shorts fund, like $100 million fund, and they distribute, I think, like a couple million every month among people who are producing shorts. And I got like $100 from them last month. So it's like good, but still, like, it doesn't compare to the overall revenue. So the overall revenue hasn't been really affected. But I think this is like an investment, because shorts are driving traffic, they're driving recognition, they're driving subscribers. So hopefully once monetization is in place, we will see some impact on the revenue. But for now, I'm just happy because of all the attention that our videos are getting.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the Silicon Valley Girl. Is that your Russian channel?
No, that's an English channel. Marina Mogilco, just my first and last name, is my Russian channel.
Okay. So you have 3 channels, mm-hmm. 2 kids, mm-hmm. and a life. That's quite remarkable as the parent of 1 child.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. Yeah. How old is he or she?
He's going to be 5 in June. So it's just about 4.5. Well, I guess 4.5 mm-hmm. on Saturday. Yeah.
Wow. And this is like, you probably feel that it's getting easier in terms of like physical energy involvement, because when you have a 2-year-old, you just run around, and mm-hmm. our 7th-month-old started crawling, so mm-hmm. I have to be all over the place.
All right, so that's I mean, so how do you balance 3 channels and all of these responsibilities? Like, how do you divide your brain in such a way that, because 1 channel is in Russian and 2 channels are in English, right?
Yeah, for a lot of topics, I just make the same video just twice, one in Russian, one in English. And they're super different. Like, the audience they intersect in some way. I would say like maybe 10% of all the audience is the same everywhere, like true core fans who want to watch every piece of content I produce. But the audiences are really different. So like Marina Mogilco is mostly vlogs. I'm just talking about my life. And this is one of my favorite channels just because people love me for who I am, no matter what I talk about. So I can just film a day in life and they will be watching and they will be grateful, which is amazing. Lingua Marina is just this educational channel. So it's, English language tips, pronunciation tips. And now we started this theme where I talk about weird things Americans do. And this has been performing pretty well. And Silicon Valley Girl is mostly business and like productivity. So they're very different.
The productivity one, we could talk about that, but I'm really curious about this talk like an American. Mm-hmm. Where's this? Because I was watching some of those videos. It's like, this bag is a ripoff, or I was binge watching, so it's like.
That video, binge watching, got over 1 million views in a day. That's crazy. Like, I've never had this before. And it just happened like a couple of days ago.
Yeah. I mean, and you yourself are an immigrant to the United States. So it's like, it's kind of interesting, your journey to understanding what it means to speak like a native,
Yeah. And all of those cultural things for Americans, like, you don't notice it. But as a foreigner with a different perspective, I'm like, this wouldn't work in Russia. This wouldn't work where I come from. So it's just interesting to notice those things. And people are like, oh, really? Do we do that? Oh my God, seriously? So this is kind of cool.
And so in, was it November or December? There was kind of a major announcement that Slow Ventures was making an investment into you directly as a creator. And that was the first time that's ever happened.
Yep.
Talk to us about that.
Oh, that's like, I've been talking to my friends. So we have these common friends with Sam. We have common friends, guys Libermans. They were CPOs at Snapchat. They're also from Russia, and they are incredible in a way that they always talk about changing the world. And we've been talking about investing in people for years before that, but there was like no instrument to do that. And we were just, basically talking. And then they were like, oh, we have this friend who's actually interested in actually doing that. And his name is Sam. You should meet him. And we just started talking. And, I always wanted to be a part of innovation. This is why I live in Silicon Valley. I just want to try all the new things that come out. And I thought, this Silicon Valley mindset in investing, when you give freedom to a startup or a person that you invest in, and you're like this passive onlooker who's, there just to help financially and maybe make some intros. I thought this is really appealing because as a creator, first of all, you're like, if you perform well in a certain month, then you're generating enough cash. If you didn't perform well, like how do you pay your team? And so this mindset, and when you're in this mindset, you're very, very, you don't spend a lot of money. You don't invest a lot in people, like hiring expensive producers or whatever. You're like super lean. And having cash in the bank, like even if I don't use it, the mindset is completely different. Like, oh, if my videos don't perform well, or if this experiment doesn't go well, I have this money to pay my team for the next couple months. So it's this mindset, then being part of this innovation. Sam is an amazing investor. He's super helpful. And, just having him, and also Libermans are my angel investors, and Sriram Krishnan, who's the host of the
Good Time Show, right?
They have a show on Clubhouse. Yeah. And so just having those people on the team, like on board, as a creator, again, it's super lonely. You just chat to your camera all the time. You have a team, but they're remote. So it's not like you don't have co-founders. But then, having investors, just this completely different dynamic. You're like, oh, I have people who are actually interested in me succeeding. So it's a lot about mindset, I think, with this deal. Yeah.
How much can we talk about this deal? Because I'm sure people are super curious.
Yep, we can talk about it as much as we want.
So first question, how long did it take to negotiate the deal to be the first direct invested creator?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months. Okay. Yep. And what kind of reservations did you have about getting a direct investment as a creator?
So it was important to just be very clear what's my creator career and what is my other career, like what is in the deal and what's not in the deal. Like, for example, LinguaTrip, equity in LinguaTrip is not part of the deal because I was doing it anyway. And so it was like this took a while. And then also there are some things like, what if I invest in a startup, get their shares and never sell them? How do investors take, like, because it's a 5%, they get 5% of my income. Like, how does it work? So there were a lot of technicalities we just had to figure out. And they kept coming. Like when my CPA joined the conversations, she was like, oh, but we can't do this deal because Marina would end up paying 3% more tax every year. And we're like, oh, okay, let's start over again. So it's just a lot of, and then, just having all the small questions pop up. And then because it's a 30-year deal, it's really hard to predict. So it's a lot of it is based on trust that I won't be like thinking of schemes to avoid not paying my investors. So it is, and I like it that it's Silicon Valley style. Like if I did this deal in New York, I think it would have taken a lot longer because it's a different mindset. They want to calculate everything. And Sam was like, okay, it's a 30-year deal. We don't know what's going to happen. We are going to write things down that we can think about now, but we basically won't be able to think about everything. So yeah, that was kind of, it took a while. And I thought, like, when we started chatting, I think it was in March. In April, we're like, oh, we're almost done with this. But then things kept coming over. So we only signed in November, I think.
Okay, so you got what, $3.5 million for?
No, 1.7.
Okay, $1.7 million for in a lump sum.
Mm-hmm.
You got $1.7 million in a lump sum for 5% of your creator earnings for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
And what constitutes creator earnings?
Google AdSense, like revenue that I get from YouTube. Anything I launch as a creator, like if I launch a course or if I launch a company as a creator, if I invest as a creator, like if I invest as a person, that doesn't count, like if I just buy stocks or whatever. But if a company takes me as an angel because I'm a creator, then that's a part of the deal. Yeah, that is basically like the main points of it.
That's really fascinating, though, that your CPA obviously needs to be part of this conversation. So
absolutely, yeah.
Did they, was the vehicle that, they wrote a check directly to Marina Mogilco, or did you set up a company and then?
Yeah, we set up an LLC. Yeah, if they wrote a check directly to Marina Mogilco, like 55% of what will be gone right away to the IRS in California state. So no, it's an LLC. And then LLC is like this holding company, and I operate out of my S Corp.
Okay, so it's 100% owned by the S Corp, but then or is it a C Corp?
Nobody. So companies don't own each other. It's just LLC is the holding company for the money, and I can do whatever I want. But for me, it's financially, like from the tax perspective, it's better for me to transfer money to the S Corp first, and then pay my contractors or whatever I want to do. Or if I invest, I would just invest directly from the LLC. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you come up with the figure of $1.7 million?
We just took whatever I was making now, and I created different scenarios where the first scenario, what if I stop creating content and decide that I want to be a scientist or whatever and quit the career? What's the probability of that? And what will be the cash flow like? Then what if I continue growing like I'm growing right now? What's the probability of that? And another scenario is, what if something major happens? I get a Netflix deal, I get a book deal, everything explodes, and I'm like the superstar. What's the probability of that? And what's the cash flow? And then we basically discounted cash flows, multiplied by probabilities, and came up with a number.
So were you studying math in university?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
So you had the right mindset exactly for this. Let's create a pro forma here, and let's really spec it out. And so how are your investors? You said Sriram Krishnan, he's at Andreessen, right?
Yeah.
And Sam Lessin, he sold a company to Facebook. Actually, long ago, I think about 11 or 12 years ago, I interviewed him prior to the Facebook acquisition for a freelance post for VentureBeat. So it's like,
wow,
very small.
Wow. Yeah, it's a small world. Absolutely. Yeah.
But how are they helping you? I mean, I just have the sense that there's a halo effect because being the first to do something, people are like, hey, I want to work with Marina just because this is new and noteworthy. So how are they? I mean, it's still kind of new. It's still the first week of January that we're recording this. So this is only like a two months or so since the deal was announced. But how are they helping you today?
So I think it's really important to mention that for them, it's also like an investment. It's not like they're my talent management agency who would do, actually manage me and come up with the deals. But in terms of like intros, Sriram has been really helpful. Sam has been really helpful. Like if I ask that, or for example, Sam thought I needed to meet this and that person, so he connected us. Sriram did the same. He was like, I think you need to pursue like being represented by a talent management agency. So he introduced me to those guys. But yeah, for now, I'm just talking to them and like getting into their mindset of being more entrepreneurial with my creator career. This is also really helpful because they have a different perspective, and it's good to have this outside perspective. But yeah, it's not like we have weekly calls and they're like, Marina, you should do this, and that. They're pretty much hands off, which I also like, because I think that as a creator, you need to be in control of your content and what you do, because you've you have this connection with your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I saw on your Instagram and some other things that you're doing like digital fashion. Was that before or after?
Yeah. Dari is my friend. Yeah. She started a company called DressX. Yeah. And I invested in 6 more startups as well. So I'm just, passionate about the creator economy. And I really like that this change is happening. People are actually recognizing that YouTube and content creation is a thing, because 3 years ago, especially in Silicon Valley, like people would ask me what I'm doing, and I'll be like, oh, I'm doing this company and I'm also a YouTuber. And they'll be like, oh, my daughter also wants to be a YouTuber. She's doing the slime thing. Yeah. I'm doing something similar. Not exactly slimes, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of slime, I did actually talk to a rep for Like Nastia.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a YouTuber with 200 million subscribers.
What was this guy from the EULA, right? The media company. What was his name?
Yeah, I think so.
I met him at Vid Summit in September.
Okay. Sorry for folks if this is inside baseball, but it's it's just.
I think it's open. I just read about them like a couple of days ago, and he was listed as a representative. So.
Yeah, I'm just more saying that, like, for people that are like, what are they talking about?
So
anyway, there's she's probably about 8 or 9 now, and her name is Nastia, and she is also a Russian immigrant. She lives in South Florida with her family, and it's basically the cheapest babysitter in the world, because she and her dad and sometimes other kids in the area, they like do these videos where they're just playing with toys and doing, kid scenarios, imagination play for a long time, but they've accumulated 200 million subscribers, and she's the number 1 most subscribed person on YouTube.
And most viewed. There is this newsletter that sends out like every week what are the most viewed channels. She's always top 10.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing what you can do with an audience. And so without divulging too much of the specifics, they were doing branded food deals with major retailers because she has such an inbuilt audience. And then there's, there's Mr. Beast and others doing the virtual dining concepts where, you can get the Mr. Beast burger in hundreds of cities across the US because there's a company called Virtual Dining Concepts, and they set up ghost kitchens. And Mariah Carey has cookies. I think it's Wiz Khalifa. He has chicken fingers.
Wow.
Mr. Beast has the Mr. Beast burger. But basically there's, it might be 9 restaurants in one building, but if you order through the app, then you get the Mr. Beast burger and it gets delivered on Uber Eats or something.
That is amazing.
So Nastia could do that. I think they were talking about like doing like macaroni or like fruit platters or something like that.
And I think they're also doing something with Gary Vee. I saw on the news that they were talking about, so like an NFT kind of project.
Wouldn't be surprised.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So you are also an investor, right?
I'm just getting there. I am hopeful that someday I will be able to launch like a physical, because, physical product, it is really important to have an audience that is, I think my audience right now, if I do something in Russia, that would totally work. Mm-hmm. Or if I do something maybe like in LA, that will work. But otherwise, my audience is everywhere. So, and I was talking to YouTube about that because I get most recognized at the airports because they travel. And they were like from all over the place. And I was like, let's do a banner at the airport. Let's do something. Because this is where they are. It's really hard when
even with a mask on, they recognize you at the airport?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is crazy because they recognize Emily.
Okay.
They say, oh, Emily. Oh, hi, Marina. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So earlier in the week, I spoke with Ramon Massam, Moan on the Beat. I don't know if you have seen him on Instagram or TikTok, but he and his keyboardist, they produce beats live. Wow. And they do live streams on TikTok. And they get anywhere from like 6 million. I mean, the lowest view count is about 10,000, but they get about up to 6 million views per video. And he has just incredible fashion sense. So he was talking about how they're going to actually start releasing their own hats and other apparel because people recognize him for his hat game.
That's amazing. I just started working with a stylist. Something, again, that my deal has allowed me to pursue, like be more confident in hiring people. Because I thought, what about, I'm sorry, I am not like wearing my stylist curated outfits right now, but
don't apologize to me, apologize to the stylist.
Sorry guys. But yeah, she's working with amazing people like Natalia Vodanova and Alexa Chung, like with all the major magazines. And I think it's just another, like, this is the part of your brand, because before that I was like, I would just wear Lululemon all the time, but now I'm like, let's add some colors, let's add some textiles. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think we will do some fashion line with DressX, because digital, it's a lot easier. Again, from my audience who's all over the world, it will be easier to do something like that.
And so you're saying like working with a stylist is one of these a side effect of having the money up front, is that you can like now say, this is an investment.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. You're not all about productivity and like making more cash because you need to support your team. You're more about like, oh, this is art. I want this to be perfect from every single aspect. I want to work with a stylist. I want to work with a producer who has experience working with Netflix shows. I want to make deeper interviews. So I want to have a researcher who helps me with that. So it's like there is this just completely different thinking about the content I produce.
So you're not in maintenance mode as much. You're like, hey, let's create a legacy here.
Yeah, exactly. It's, when it's like a startup when you raised your Series seed and you're like, oh, now I can focus on the product instead of just pitching and pivoting and trying to figure out how do I make money ASAP. It's just, okay, now I have time to actually sit down with myself and think where I'm going with this and how do I get to the next step. Because when you're just on this hamster wheel of producing content, you stay on the same level. Yes, you're growing thanks to the algorithm, but in order to have a hockey stick growth as a creator, you need to come up with new formats. You need to come up with something that's different from what you've been doing. And you can't do it if you are on this treadmill of just doing whatever you're used to.
I mean, speaking again of Mr. Beast, he spends millions of dollars per video now. 3
million on the Squid Game. A Squid Game. Sorry, I didn't watch. I started watching it and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't watch any of his stuff, but I'm aware of him as a really prolific creator.
Exactly. Same story here.
And it's just amazing because you can have, maybe I'll have my brother on the show at some point, but he has about 1.5 million YouTube subscribers, which is not small.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's animation and it's inspired by a game called Five Nights at Freddy's, which again I don't know anything about, but there are a world of people that watch every video he makes.
That's amazing.
So that's the world we live in, and so as a creator, to have that audience, and it's like 6 million for one channel. So across all your channels, how many subscribers do you have just on YouTube?
A little over 7 million, I would say.
Okay, so then Lingua Maria is really the...
Yeah, but again, it's like, I think the subscriber count is just this vanity metric because there are different types of subscribers. Like that channel, every video is kind of on point. So they come, they watch a video, they might watch 3 or 4 more. Some of them connect with me as a person. But what I feel is that most of viewers are there because they want to get information about this particular subject, or they're just entertained with the way I talk about Americans. So they're like, okay, that was fun. But for example, with Silicon Valley Girl, they're like, Marina, you are so motivational. I'm also a female entrepreneur who's just starting out. And it's so motivating just to watch your vlogs and see how you show your life and show your day as an entrepreneur. And they are there for every video. So this is just this different type of connection. And I think it is really important to focus. Numbers are great and they give you this exposure, but I care a lot more about people who really connect with me as a person, because then I realize I can give a lot more value. It's not just this information resource. I'm also like this inspiration resource, like a friend, kind of.
And then is your CPM much higher for the Silicon Valley Girl because it's more business content and the ad rates are different?
Yeah, it is higher. It depends on the video. For some videos, my CPM will be like $70 per 1,000 views where we're talking about business. For some videos or like vlogs, they tend to get lower CPMs. But yeah, it tends to be higher.
Okay. I hope you get to the $70 CPM for the 6 million subscriber channel.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I was watching Andre Geek give his kind of year-end recap of his different revenue channels. And it was,
I still have to watch it. We chatted like a couple months ago, and he said most of my revenue is coming from, well, not most of it, but a big chunk of it is coming from affiliates. And if you're a financial blogger, you can advertise Webull and Robinhood, and they would just give you free stocks. This is crazy. Yeah, I've experimented with that. Not that much money for me. I'm not a financial blogger, but still, yeah, it is great. And yeah, his success is amazing, and he's been doing that for like a couple of years, and grown like crazy. Dee might actually attend his housewarming party when he bought a house in Las Vegas.
In Vegas, yeah. That's just so fascinating because you can have a much less popular channel by some metrics, but then when you say like I'm talking about accounting and tax planning, and people that watch my channel, they buy credit cards, they buy insurance, they buy whatever, that's really valuable. So you can go deep and not wide. But if you can go wide and deep, then you're really, So then you have this audience. How are people engaging with you off of YouTube? Because like you have, obviously I see the YouTube plaques behind you. So they're supporting you, but one day they could just flip the switch on any YouTube creator. So how are you engaging off the platform with the audience you've built?
Yeah, I have Instagram, over 800,000 people. I have TikTok, 1.7 million. I have an email list, maybe a couple 100,000 across all the different. I don't know how many people we have at LinguaTrip, probably a lot more. So LinguaTrip has its own email list. And of course, I advertise LinguaTrip, I promote LinguaTrip in my videos. Instagram, TikTok. There is a platform called Bilibili, which is like a Chinese YouTube platform. I have over 100,000 subscribers there as well. We just started Facebook. So we're going to upload a lot more content there. What else? I have also a couple of written blogs, but they're not too big, like a Substack. I'm trying to be, with my team, we're trying to be everywhere. We try to repurpose every piece of content that we can repurpose.
And then, so in terms of creator commerce, what plans do you have? Because you were talking about courses. You're doing, you invested in Vibe Capital with Ankur Nagpal, right?
Yeah.
And he's the CEO of Teachable.
Yep. I also invested in his co-founder who co-founded Teachable with him. They're building banking for creators.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I imagine that part of this this funding that you got from Sam and Sri Ramakrishnan is going towards more monetization of audience off of Instagram, TikTok, Bilibili, YouTube. What kind of opportunities are you looking at in terms of how to take this several 100,000 people on email, et cetera, and engage with them in different ways?
Yeah, so I have my courses. So I have a course, a YouTube course, a short video course. We're launching, together with Teachable, we're launching a YouTube manager course. So it's basically a course for people who want to manage other people's channels, help them research, come up with topics, thumbnails, etc., do some editing maybe. So we're launching that in February. But my main goal with all of this is actually working with a production company or doing something with Netflix. That would be the goal, creating a show of this immigrant girl in the US, noting different cultural, basically what I'm doing with my channel, but on a higher level, and having other prominent immigrants on the show. So
that's very cool.
This would be the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And so what is the process like of going from a very popular YouTube channel to Netflix, which is that next step?
Still have to figure out. Probably hopefully, in my understanding, the first step is getting represented by an agency, has all the connections. So this is what I'm working on right now, just chatting to different agencies and figuring out how is this going to work.
And then what would that mean to you in terms of being picked up by Netflix? Because everybody, it's they all want to be in Hollywood and they might make more money off of a YouTube channel, but they still want to get, a book deal, or they want to be on the screen. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's just a completely different level of exposure to new audience. Because, even with YouTube, people are more likely to click on a video where they see a familiar face. And this, you being recognized is super important for YouTube, for any social media platform. And once you're on Netflix, you get recognized instantly. And it's just, for me, even like apart from that, for me, number one thing is working with talented people. Because when you're working with Netflix production team, it's just this whole new level. And I'm unable right now to create a team like that. Not because of the financial component of that. I don't know how to hire those types of people. Like, why would they work for me?
Yeah, if you're working from home, you're not getting to hang out with them and, do yoga classes and what have you. So you don't have the proximity.
Yeah. And I would for me, the most important, and the best, all of my goals for 2022 are about people. I want to work with as many creative, talented people, as many as possible. And so being able to work with them, to see how they structure the process, how they think about things, that's priceless.
Wow. No, that's a great point, is that not only is there the prestige of getting a product or a project picked up by a Netflix or a major studio, it's the fact that the studio has the talent pipeline that you don't get elsewhere. And getting to work with those people and really focus on the creative process is something that, we live in a distributed world, right? So it's like you have a distributed team, your audience is distributed, but then that concentration of talent that a studio can get is something that is really rare and special.
Yeah.
So thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so then the goal for 2022 is all about people and making these big jumps. So I have so many questions around what that looks like. And then it's like, I'm sure you're thinking about 2023 as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to give you a couple of examples, I just had a contractor in LA. I found this person who's working with bigger production teams. She charges something like $2,000 per video for script and actually producing it. She helps you find guests. She helps you with questions. She can help you with finding editors. And I paid for 2 videos. I just want to see what does it look like. And I've looked at a couple of projects she worked with, and they're next level. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we'll see how this is going to be helpful. Also, even working with a therapist who understands YouTube, and it's not like I have, problems or whatever, that I'm depressed. It's just having this audacity to go on the next level, and tell people I can actually, I would love to interview Mark Zuckerberg, but the problem is not really, I could try and, find ways to get him on the interview because he's doing interviews with YouTubers. I don't have audacity yet. I'm like, why? What will people think about me interviewing Mark? I haven't built a big business yet. I'm just doing so. You see, and this is also what I want to work on with my therapist. And I see people who get hate on YouTube, but they're actually oh, this is all planned. This is how new people find out about me. It is fine. I want to be that person. I can, when people start telling me something oh, why your interview is awful. This person is so amazing, but you couldn't ask the right questions. I'm oh, yes, I'm not a journalist. I will not do this anytime soon. I want to get out of this.
Yeah, that's so fascinating though. So you have a therapist, you're working with a therapist.
I'm looking for a therapist. I'm just working with different people because not everybody understands that kind of thing, how to work with it. But I found someone who works with public people. So it's just, there is so many things that I have to take the next level in order to reach that next level in terms of even my mindset.
Well, let me ask, how would a therapist or a coach help you with your mindset to perform better as a YouTuber and as a creator?
I think my main problem is that I overreact to people's comments. They would be in my head for days. If somebody tells me oh, you interviewed this person, but I just watched another interview and it was so much better because you couldn't ask the right questions or something. Or, when I made this video about San Francisco, people were like, I'm so glad you're out because your techies are ruining the city. You're the reason why the city is suffering. And I'll be like, oh, really? And like, instead of just thinking, they have their own perspective and, I appreciate that they're commenting, but this has nothing to do with me. I would be like, oh, really? Is that the reason? Did I ruin the city? Like, I want to get out of this mindset. I think this is my main problem, that I take everything too seriously. Yeah. And this would definitely, like, once I'm out of that, I think I would be able to be more audacious about things I do on YouTube.
Yeah.
Then when you do something radical, something new, I would be like, okay, 50% of the comments might not be what I expected, but I'm fine with it. This is part of the plan. I want to have this mindset.
What kind of conversations do you have with other YouTubers and other creators about mental health?
We talk a lot about reaction to hate, and like in general, there is this attitude to it. Like if you're launching a course, because there are a lot of low quality products on the market, people be hating you for that. Like, oh, easy money for you. The qualities, they wouldn't even take the course, but they would hate you for having this product. So that, like in general, and then being dependent on the numbers. Like if this video didn't perform, then you don't feel well for the day. And you're like, oh, because there are two strategies on YouTube where you create videos in order to satisfy the algorithm, so it starts promoting you. And there is a strategy where you make videos just because you think they're great. And these are two different strategies. Like for Silicon Valley Girl, if I want to reach 1 million followers, all I have to do is produce top 15 ideas for businesses in crypto, top 15 companies to work, whatever. Like they would take off, and they were taking off all the time. Like if I produce a top profitable businesses video, they will be on the front page of Google if you look for profitable business ideas. So it's working. But it's not necessarily a type of video that I want to create. I want to talk about different things, but they don't perform. So it's, this is also a lot of a problem that a lot of YouTubers are struggling with. Like you either sacrifice your views or you sacrifice your interests.
And so finding that right balance of it's integrity, right? It's like, I want to be a creator. I don't just want to be a algorithm slave or, algorithm fodder.
Exactly.
So, and so then how do you and your fellow creators support each other in that kind of journey?
I think just this feeling that you're not alone with this problem. Everybody has this problem. This alone makes things a lot easier. When we chat about that, they're like, oh, completely the same problem. Or even like I chatted to another YouTuber a couple of days ago, and she's like, I want to have more free time. So I decided to start posting once in 2 weeks, and nothing changed. And I'm like, again, my view was that you have to produce every single week and you can't stop, because otherwise the algorithm would stop promoting you. And she's like, I've been doing this for half a year. I'm focusing on my family. It's fine. You're like, maybe I don't have to be in this constant, oh my God, I need to produce a video this week, even if I'm sick, even if I want a holiday, even if I haven't dressed it or my baby didn't sleep this night, I have to produce it. So it's just different. This different perspective helps a lot.
That's crazy. Cause like when I was a journalist and when I was blogging more, I felt like I really do need to be producing, and just wanting to publish kind of robbed me of the joy of the writing process. Cause it was writing to hit publish, not just writing for the joy and the experience of it. So it definitely, that's cool that you have colleagues and peers who can tell you that, they've taken a big step back and it still hasn't impacted their traffic and their views.
Yeah.
So it's like, you get to be a whole person.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then you were talking earlier about how your mission for 2022 is about people. You're looking for a coach or a therapist who understands the mindset of YouTube creators and public personas. What other support are you looking for in 2022?
So a couple of producers, like somebody who would help me come up with topics and navigate through, like people who I can invite to be a part of my channel. Yeah, actually, I was just working on my goals. I have this book. They say you need to have a new like book for every year for the goals. I can just look at like whatever. Oh, work with a financial consultant because I've been investing. Like, oh, let's invest in crypto. Oh, let's invest in this startup. I would really want to have a structure. Working with a stylist. Yeah, getting signed by an agency. This is something I'm also. Oh, I'm working with a PR person because we're trying to get me on 3 magazine covers this year. Because I've been on 2 last year, and it's again in terms of people recognizing you. It's been amazing. Like people tagging me on stories. They've seen me at this airport or on the airplane, like on the cover of the magazine. So I want to do more of that. Like just doing big events with, I've done 2 events last year with like not 1,000, 500 people. So I want to do like a 5,000 people event. So
nice.
Those guys. And last year I started finally, like before we did a couple of 1,000 people events, and I thought I need to be in charge of everything. And last year I just hired a person who's done that before, and it was so easy. I just had to show up. So, and I just realized like how important it is to have people who understand what they're doing.
That's great. I mean, it goes back to what you said, though, about being able to invest in people and take some risks, you know, having in the absolute, you know, compared to $1.5 million, paying someone $4,000 to produce 2 high quality episodes with you is not a lot.
Yeah.
But on the basis of what those videos might make in ad revenue, that's significant.
Or even again, like understanding how creative process works, what it takes to produce this high quality video. What is this structure of the script that gets people engaged from the first 8 seconds? Like there are so many details that you learn from when you're working with those types of people. Yeah.
I mean, Marcus Brownlee would be someone that would be really fascinating to talk to, because sometimes he interviews himself in a Tesla, you know, and he like puts on a fake mustache, but it's like he just understands the storytelling format so well, but that didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know, either he invested in himself over the years to get to that level of comfort, or he has someone he works with, or both.
I need to watch this video that you mentioned.
Oh yeah, he was I think he was actually interviewing himself about what it meant to be a YouTuber. And so he's pretending to be an Uber driver, and he's saying, "Oh, I'm going to the airport. I reviewed gadgets for a living," and you know, pretending to be like a 50-year-old guy who's just like, "Really, what?"
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah. So you were a startup co-founder before getting into YouTube. So you already had the entrepreneur mentality, but then like, how do you see your channels as businesses, as a creator?
They're definitely top of the funnel right now, because most of my revenue is coming from the products that I do, like courses and partnerships. But again, talking to Andre, talking to Graham Stephan, I also want to be in a position where Google AdSense revenue makes like 50% of my income, because it's kind of passive. You do what you like, you produce content and you get paid for it. So you don't have to constantly hustle to launch a course, constantly hustle to secure a brand deal. This is also something that's in the list of my goals for the next year.
Yeah, and the long tail searches are, like you said, it's not passive in so much as you have to create the videos, but once you've created the video, it's an asset.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you really have to watch the Andre Geek year-end recap, because he shows the price of Bitcoin and where his YouTube ad revenue was for the month. And it's almost a 1-to-1 correlation.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because he talks about Bitcoin, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, but he's not even a crypto. I mean, he's crypto, but he's not a crypto founder or anything. He's an investor and personal finance guy. So it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah.
But then that just makes me think, it's like things are so cyclical. So we had Rebecca Zung on the show, and that episode aired recently. And she talks about narcissism and how to deal with narcissists and toxic people in your life. And that is not cyclical, because if anything, it's only going to increase.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we have an epidemic of narcissism in our world. So that's just another, you know, but her traffic is all organic. And I think she has 3 million channel subscribers.
Wow.
So, so there's that fine balance of trends, like Bitcoin prices versus just like mental health and, toxic people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, any final thoughts? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, and I know you have 3 channels and 2 kids to attend to.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I mean, if people are interested in raising money as a creator, I think it is worth exploring, because I know, like, if you're a creator who never hired or who's like, leading this lonely journey, and you're thinking like, maybe it's not for me, just like talking to investors. Again, for me, it's more about mindset, more about having partners in the business, being part of something very new. And my belief is that in 10 years, we would all be able to invest in our favorite people, hold their tokens, so whatever it means. It's just, I think it's just this completely different world where you can fund an entrepreneur who's 19 years old, who doesn't have a lot of money, but then that probably his first 2 startups or first 2 channels or whatever are going to fail just because he's just starting out. But his 3rd startup is definitely going to work, and you don't have to chase him with every startup. You just invest in him, which gives them power and resources to experiment with things.
Yeah. What do you think the future of direct investment to creators looks like?
I think we're gonna have NASDAQ for people. I think we're gonna have tokens. We're gonna like trade our future income for upfront cash, and we're gonna get rid of student loans. We're gonna get rid of bank loans. We're gonna be able to fund talented people at school, because for me, I was lucky that my school had an exchange program with the UK, because my parents would never be able to afford sending me abroad. What if, they funded all straight A students at school and gave them, thousands of dollars to get into this university or try this program? Because these things are life-changing. If I hadn't gone to the UK when I was 14, my life would have been completely different. So these events are game changers. Like going to 500 startups, this is a game changer. And so being able to provide more opportunities to people worldwide, changing their lives and giving them resources to, take part in programs and travel and explore, I think it's great. We're going to have a much better world when everyone can participate.
Awesome. This has been a real pleasure. I'm so glad we got to catch up. I mean, it's like we kind of just whizzed by each other on deck.
Yeah. Andrew is actually helping me with my new course. He's with Teachable.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. It's a small world.
This is a very small world. Yeah. I mean, I'm still, I'm not doing the talk anymore at 500, but I'm still, dealing with 500 startups companies almost on multiple times a day.
That's amazing.
I've invested in a couple myself. So
nice.
Yeah.
And you're in San Francisco, right?
Still in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about going to Vegas for New Year's, but with Omicron, it's just like,
Yeah. I wanted to go to the CES, but I lost a deal. Like when companies reach out, they wanted to send me to the CES, but they were like, we're actually exploring a couple more creators, so we're gonna give you a decision later, and somebody else won the deal. But that would have been great. But anyway,
yeah. That'll do it.
Probably next year.
Yeah. Well, let's all mask up and take care of each other so that these things and these travels can happen again.
Yeah.
Because it's such an important part of life.
Yeah, they are.
All right. Well, Marina, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Yeah, спасибо. Спасибо тебе.
Yeah. Who are you looking to work with, and who would you like to reach out in 2022?
Yeah, everyone that I mentioned, like people who are professional producers, who work with professional production teams, those types of people who can help bring my content to the next level. Awesome. All right. Well, Happy New Year, and thank you again. Yeah. Happy New Year. Yeah. Thank you so much.